Podcasts are those of the individual guests. If you're a sensitive snowflake that may get easily offended, then turn this off immediately. If you want to hear the real truth about the gun culture, then stick around. This is the Armed Citizen Podcast. What is going on, my Ghost Squad? Welcome to the Armed Citizen Podcast. We are live for episode 103. We are live as always on YouTube and simulcasting as always over on gunchannels.com. I want to put a link out there. If you're not familiar with gunchannels.com or haven't come there and joined us yet, I don't know what to say. The water's warm. We're always there. Gunchannels.com was started by G Webbs going on 6 years almost now, and it's created for gun owners by gun owners to have discussions just like this. So if you're new to the conversation, new to the community, new to the culture, and you're asking questions to ask, come on over. There's always someone over there that can help you out. Like I said, the water is always warm. Maybe that's because people piss in the water. I don't know, but the water is always warm. And so come on over and check us out over on gunchannels.com. Before we get going, I want to say if you're watching or listening in replay or podcast form, thank you so much. Make sure if you have any questions, leave a comment down below. Use that comment section. We love getting comments. If not, you can email us to live@ghosttactical.us, or you can always text us to 530-364-4678. Another way of thinking about it is 530-36-GHOST. So you can do all of that, and we'd love to hear your comments. If you're live with us right now, welcome to the shit show. We hope you guys really enjoy it. And if you have any questions or comments or whatever that you want us to discuss or all that, go ahead and tag us. Either one of us, or if we have other people jumping in, tag one of us in there. We'll try to get those read. I can't promise you that every single question is going to be looked at or commented on. We're going to try to do that as much as we can. But other than that, we're going to try to get people involved in the conversations. That's really what it's all about, is a conversation. So before we get going, let's bring in our co-host at this point. I mean, he's there with me every time, and it's my good buddy, the tactical leprechaun himself. What's up, Clover?
Color commentary. I can handle it.
There you go, the color commentary. There you go. So you're like the John Madden of the show, I guess.
There you go. I just don't have the whiteboard with all the stuff, so maybe we got to figure that out.
You do have a whiteboard. I know you do.
Well, I do have a whiteboard. Yeah, I could do that. I could do the breakdowns of the chat.
That's right. Let's go by and say hi real quick to everybody out there. We haven't done some shout outs in a while. Gun Loving Grandpa was first, and Gunpowder Beauty was second. Guitar Man Pete's out there. Andrew Faulkner, D-Temp, Kingpin. Let's see here. Midnight Range is out there. Who else we got? Ozzy, Bark at the Moon. Seven Wonders is out there. Ferrets with Guns. Off the X. What's up, Lance? If you guys are out, Snobs out there. And if you guys are out there, go ahead and say something in the chat. Let us know that you're out there, and we can send a shout out your way or whatever. Midnight Range says, Ghost, can you plug the Harrisburg Rally on the 24th and 25th for me, homie? Absolutely. If you guys are going to be around the Harrisburg, Pennsylvania area, that is a state capital, Pennsylvania. People probably think it's Philadelphia or Pittsburgh, but it's Harrisburg. If you're around Harrisburg, PA, the 24th and 25th, and you're a pro gun and you want to get involved somehow, some way, go check it out. And, Travis, if you're out there, maybe throw out there where it's going to be, the Capitol building, where it's going to be, times and all that, and we'll make sure we mention that later on as well. So absolutely, if any of you guys have any of those things that you want mentioned, absolutely go ahead and put them out there, and we'll try to get those mentioned because those are extremely important. Before we get going on the main topic, which is what does the Second Amendment really mean, I thought we would just touch on something that obviously everyone in the gun community probably has heard of by now. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time, but I'm going to take a little different approach on it than most, and you might get pissed off, whatever. but it is what it is. But we're going to talk a little bit about Walmart.
Oh, please.
What's that?
I said, oh, please. Can I please hear one more opinion on or post or just one more, please, on the stupid Walmart thing? Just one.
Yeah, every single person out there the video. That's great. It's fine. It is what it is. But, being in Arkansas, this is where Walmart's headquarters is. And I actually have several very dear friends of mine that work at the corporate office at Walmart. And I've some of them today. And hey, it pays well. So it's a job for them,
My condolences to them.
Yeah. And, but I've talked to a couple of them today and understand what, Doug McMillan and all of them had to say in their press release. And I'm going to say, what I have a problem with, I'll let you come in and speak your mind as well, Clover. But my problem that I've had today is obviously I do not like hearing anything that could be considered anti-gun out there, especially by the largest retailer in the world. But I will say this, a lot of people that are making comments out there and giving their side of it, which is fine. That's their opinion and that's their right. But I don't know if they're actually reading the press release and understanding what it is. They're seeing a headline and they're running with it. And I'm not backing Walmart by any means, but to be fair, let's make sure we get the correct information out there, because this is exactly, in my opinion, why the anti-side likes to make fun of us. Is we're the conspiracy theorists, we're the tinfoil hat people, and to our own detriment, sometimes we give that impression just by reading a headline and then firing off without really either learning or discussing all of the facts. So, yes, they quit selling handguns and AR-15 years ago. Yes, they are going to stop selling handguns in Alaska. That probably sucks because for some Alaskans, that might be the only place they can get handguns. I don't know. I don't live in there, but
it was probably, you got to figure Alaska is probably large bore revolvers too. It wasn't even quote unquote high capacity stuff.
Yeah, I don't see too many people running around with 380s, 9 mils, 40, 45 handguns because there's some large animals up there, Right. But yes, they are going to discontinue that. They're going to discontinue selling handgun ammunition when their current stock is gone. They are going to stop selling. This is my favorite part, though. Small barreled rifle ammunition.
Short barreled rifle. Well, rifles and ammunition, but yeah.
Yeah, short barrel rifle. It's 223 556 what they're talking about. And it's funny to me. I didn't realize that there was short barreled rifle ammunition. I didn't think that was a thing, But that just goes into whatever the person writing it might not be a gun person. That's just the reality of it. And then they also are going to ask customers not to open carry in their stores, even if open carry is allowed in the state. Now, all of this stuff combined has thrown people for an absolute frenzy today, and that's okay. I'm not going to say that you should be upset. I'm upset with Walmart. I think that anytime something like that is really not good when they come out in any way that looks like they're anti-gun. But let's dissect this and understand what we're talking about here. Many companies, and Clover and I had this discussion off air, many companies, if they don't sell handguns there and they don't sell AR style rifles, they're selling lever and bolt action and shotguns. And I'm not talking about Walmart, but many retailers will only sell ammo that they currently sell products for. Now, I'm not saying that this is right. I'm not taking their side, but let's really, if we're going to talk about this, let's actually talk about this. The two biggest things are, to me, are not selling handgun ammunition. That does suck because I used to go, if I just needed a box to go to the range and all that, yeah, I went to Walmart sometimes and got it for $9. I get it. But this just gives you another opportunity to go support your local gun shop. And are the gun shops going to be a little bit higher priced? Yep, they sure are. Probably so. What are we talking here? $1 or $2? I mean, let's be real about it. It is what it is. So go support your local gun shops. And the other one is the open carry. Now, here's the thing. They're not going to ban open carry in the stores. What they literally said is we are respectfully asking our customers not to open carry. Now, they're still going to allow concealed carry in their stores and all that. But here's the thing. Did they ever come out and say we are banning open carry? No, they're saying we're respectfully asking our customers not to. So let's not jump on saying they're banning guns in Walmart. No, they're not. They're not. I'm as upset as anybody else, but once again, guys, we have to be realistic and understand what they're talking about. Now, I'm not saying that I like what they're saying, but let's not jump off in these hasty headlines and say Walmart's not allowing anyone to carry at Walmart anymore. That's not true. That's not true at all, actually. They're very much saying concealed carry is good to go, and they're not saying we're banning open carry. We're saying we're going to ask our customers not to open carry.
They also are going to leave it to the discretion of the store manager as to if you are open carrying as to what is done. So,
yeah. So, it's one of those things where I'm not by any means supporting this. I'm not taking the side of Walmart, but if we're going to talk about facts and our community and our culture, we're really big on facts. We're really big on facts. That's what we like to do in gun debate, is facts. Then let's make sure that we're talking facts here. So I don't sit there and say, hey, don't boycott Walmart. If you want to boycott Walmart. I'm all for it. But let's at least discuss the facts and the reality of what happened today, not read a hasty headline and go batshit crazy over Walmart's banning guns and ammo now. That's not the case.
And if we're going to do that, we need to say, first of all, they have done nothing. This is a memo from the CEO. So it's just like getting upset when a politician says something and you're like, oh, well, they're banning this or they're getting rid of that or they're doing this. And there's not even been a bill proposed or just nothing else. And you just flew off the handle because somebody said something. At this point, basically, the CEO has officially said something. He's got to go through all of the channels. And I'm going to tell you right now, Walmart is a huge company. There's a lot of channels this has to flow through before any of this can happen. Don't think for a second that a company such as Walmart just does things willy-nilly without verifying and running it through tons of checks and balances and sources and everything else.
Yeah. And Kevin out there brings up a good point. He says if it's posted, they can ask you to leave. That's right. They can ask you to leave. They cannot kick you out. They can ask you to leave, and if you leave, you leave. If you don't want to leave, then there's a whole another thing with trespassing and all of that. But that has nothing to do with the gun. That is a trespassing. That has nothing to do with the open carry. So once again, absolutely.
That was your response once they've asked.
Yeah. G, we got G has jumped in, the Godfather himself from out in Arizona. What's up, G?
Thanks for the invite and bouncing back and forth here.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on. Did something new happen, or is this in response to something that already happened?
I'm sure that you heard about Walmart today. Did you not hear about Walmart?
Just on Instagram for like the last couple of minutes. I've only been paying attention.
Basically, they came out and said that they are, once their supply of handgun ammunition and short-barreled rifle ammunition, which basically 223, is out, they will no longer be selling handgun ammunition in Walmart. Also, they are going to respectfully ask their customers not to open carry in their stores, even if open carry is allowed in your state. And there's been a lot of people going nuts about Walmart's doing all this, and they are doing a lot of shitty shit. I'm not saying they aren't, but no one's really touching on the actual facts of the press release. And that's what I wanted to clear up, the press release before we even got going. That's what we're doing right now.
And let's make sure that we talk about as well, kind of the motivation behind him making the statement that he had. You got to realize, put yourself in the position of a business owner regardless, right? And put yourself in the position of the people, the higher ups, the whoever, the big stockholders, the executives, whatever it might be. You got to realize in like a 2 or 3 week period now, you've had the El Paso incident, which happened at a Walmart. You have another one where a disgruntled employee went into a Walmart. Where was that, in Georgia or something? I can't remember now.
It's at South Haven. I don't know where South Haven is.
Yeah, I don't remember where that was. And then also you've got the incident with the goofball with the AR strap, freaking people out, whatever happened. So you had 3 incidents directly with the Walmart, not just random acts, but that tie Walmart together to this. So I mean, as a business, I mean, it brought attention to it, and I mean, obviously their higher ups and stuff are gonna be trying to come up with something that they feel will mitigate some of the heat.
Yeah, and let's also remember, like you said earlier, they're going to leave it up to the discretion of the individual store manager. And it's like you and I were talking about offline and earlier today in a private conversation is, and yes, gunpowder, it does the same thing as Sam's Club, any Walton-owned stores. They said Sam's Club is included in that. But we were talking about this is, I'm in Arkansas, and you're in Texas, G's out in Arizona. We're 3 pretty gun-friendly states. Now, could this be more prevalent in Illinois, Washington, D.C., Maryland, New Jersey, New York, California? Absolutely.
It's already to an extent.
That's what I'm saying.
Different locales and locations anyway. There's already different locales and locations that don't sell this or may sell that. Or there's a lot of discretion. I've actually got family members that are and have been managers at Walmarts, and I worked for Walmart for quite a few years. God bless my soul, back in the day. There's a lot of discretion given to managers. Walmart does have a pretty solid overall policy. Bentonville, controls a lot, but a lot of the regional, I guess they give it upon or whatever, release it upon their managers to handle a lot of the more regional aspects of stuff and that has to do with how the stores are laid out, to what products they carry, to just all kinds of different things.
Now, G's saying you're in the big pocket of Walmart, so I'm going to let G come back in.
Oh, you haven't turned me loose on Walmart yet. I'm going to piss off everybody in the chat, as well as the people at Walmart before it's over, because I got words to say to all you suckers out there.
So are you a Walmart greeter? That would be funny.
Me? No.
Welcome to Walmart. Go away, asshole. All right, G, come back in here and speak your piece, brother.
Yeah, so this isn't the first time this has happened. Walmart's method of operation, well, I don't mean like that. I mean, this is Walmart's MO or whatever. So something happens in the news, they react. Probably the first couple of times they reacted out of the capitalist, like, whatever, just like, all the things that Clover's trying to apologize for big capitalism there. So, or big corporatism or whatever. Like, they had their own self-interest and they tried to react as a corporation the first couple of times, dozens of years ago. But this is just their standard playbook now. Something happens in the news, they make a big deal about it, and they make an action. Months later, they do whatever they feel like again. And they're going to continue to do this. Are we going to continue to be unaware? Who doesn't remember when they did this over and over? I've got YouTube videos from when they've done this before. Not on the idea of this back and forth with Walmart, but just because I fell into this trap. So Walmart knows this is going to happen in society, just like other things happen that we're not paying attention to. Motorcycle stuff probably happens, and they're like, oh, we're going to make a big stand on motorcycles. Swimming pools. Oh, we're going to make a big stand on swimming pools. Like, Clover is just, again, apologizing for them that they're a big company. Yeah, so they got all kinds of products in that store, and this is just the way that their corporate playbook says to deal with guns and stuff. Am I writing it off? Am I apologizing for them? Hell no. Am I going to be shopping at Walmart? Not anymore. If I shopped at Walmart, I spent 50,000 miles on the road, and I shop at Walmart because I stay in their parking lots. Do I need to? No, I do that out of convenience and interest. But I'm willing to stop doing that and willing to be less convenient because fuck that store already. Am I allowed to say that? This store has taken over the small businesses. They've already done that. Now, they didn't come in and decide to take over small businesses. Customers decided that they'd rather go shop at Walmart than a small business, and people made their decisions. I personally liked being able to go to a bookstore or to a gun shop. Those are the two things I think of first off, but even like a paint store, a dog food place. There used to be stores for things, and now there's Walmart and there's a couple of custom service stations in town. But very rarely are there stores for stuff anymore because of big box stores like Walmart. Now, if that's the future of capitalism, some people suggest it is, maybe. I don't think so. I think that we're a part of that. And Clover was over there apologizing for everything Walmart does. But those are decisions based on the company and based on their stockholders. That's awesome. They also have employees and they also have customers. And we're a big chunk of that because none of it exists without the customers. And to suggest that we don't have any say in that is wrong. We are a chunk of that, if not half of it, whatever the portion of it is, we're a portion of that equation. And if they're going to suggest that when something happens, you guys just said 3 things happened, bunk. Things happen. And the media decides what they're going to focus on. And they're artificially influencing people's emotions or interests, or lazy people who only can listen to what's being told to them, or desperate people that need to get attention, so they're going to climb on to whatever thing is new today or wherever they can get their voice heard, no matter if it's good or bad. There's always going to be people that are opportunists, and there's always going to be lazy people. And then luckily we always have people that are willing to bunt, what's the word again? Bunt against that, or whatever the word is. I can't think of the word. Brace against that and do their own thing and pay attention to what news they want. And this is an opportunity to maybe do that. Shop where you want, listen to the news you want. At some point, we're either going to fail, we're going to lose to this basically continual match of, what's it like? I want to say ping pong on a tennis match, but I don't think it's just as simple as that. But we're going to lose to this game at some point, this little choreographed dance. And if we don't wake up and pay attention that they're doing this on cycles, they're doing this over the years, they're doing this over the decades, then it's our failure. We're capitalists. Buyer beware. So if we think that these companies are out for us and we're willing to overlook and we're willing to apologize for everything that they do just because they're doing it in the interest of capitalism, that's great, but they're not allowed to. They also have to pay attention to us if they want to survive. And if we don't want to live in that kind of situation where they're playing the rules, then pull back. We pull up. We've got the ability to not shop there. Anyway, I'm done. That was my soapbox. I don't think the Walmart's good to go. I think they're a bunch of unscrupulous jerks playing the game. They're part of this whole ambush system. And they're probably paying stupid the companies that are out to get our guns, right? They had advertising companies, the media.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, they're at least behind some of that. They're behind. I mean, it's just like any other major corporation. It comes down to money. Are they going to contribute to politicians that do that? Yes. Are they going to contribute to politicians on both sides of the aisle? Absolutely. It's literally about the money. And when they start seeing problems with certain things, they get into stage fright, or they get into shock about, oh my gosh, we can't come out and look, blah, 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 blah. So we're going to change some of our policies. Once again, guys, I don't want to sit there and let you guys think that I'm supporting this. I'm just saying I want to make sure that everyone gets the facts of what the press really said. There have been a lot of people doing videos today that either haven't read it or have just completely disregarded what it has said. And if you're going to be mad about it, which I am, that's fine. Be mad about it, but let's be mad for the right reasons and have all the information. They are not saying that you can no longer buy guns at Walmart, and they're not saying you can no longer carry a gun at Walmart. They're not saying that at all. What they're saying is we're not going to sell handgun ammunition, and they're asking the customers not to open carry. They're not saying you can't open carry. They're asking you not to. If you want to, go for it.
Such hairs, though. Again, we either expect or we don't expect people that care or are disinterested or don't care or are disinterested completely in guns to care about a magazine or a clip or maybe an assault rifle and a semi-automatic rifle or a shooter and a murderer, right? We sometimes we expect that, sometimes we don't. But now we're going to let this little difference in definition matter. All this really matters to all the people. What this is saying to all the people who don't pay attention to guns or aren't familiar with our lingo or jargon or whatever is Walmart stopped selling ammunition. They stopped selling guns. We can't look at this and go, oh, well, it's only open carry. Oh, it's only handgun ammunition. Oh, it's only in certain stores. Oh, it's only up to manager. Because what happened nationally is Walmart's playing the game with the national media, making guns look bad and suggesting that by removing guns from their giant stores, the world will be safer. They're playing along. They're taking all the credit. It doesn't matter if they're allowing concealed carry. It doesn't matter if they're still selling rifle ammunition and profit over it, making it convenient for us to go buy cat food and 9mm ammo at the same time. But well, I guess you can't buy 9mm ammo at the same time, but you go buy your shotgun ammo at the same time, maybe. But we can't say, oh, let's split hairs and give them credit where credit's due, because let's not split hairs.
I'm not giving them credit for anything.
It's shame them where shame is necessary, because they're screwing with us. They're making guns the pawn. They're exploiting the news, and what they're doing is making money. Because here's the thing, they're either making money by a bunch of do-good, what's the word? Whatever the people that all virtue signal. Thank you. They're going to make all kinds of money from those people. And I'm going to go buy my toothpaste at Walmart because I don't got to worry about gun violence. And then they're going to make. How much are we saying Walmart today? I know that my Instagram says Walmart more than it ever has, or it has since the last time they pulled something like this. Since the last time Dick's pulled something like this. Since the last time fill in the blank company knows that they want some free advertisement. Talk about guns a little bit.
And I'm not trying to split hairs. I am not trying to support anything. I'm simply saying I want to make sure that our community isn't looked at from the outside, overreacting or blowing stuff out of proportion or talking about things that aren't true. There's been 1,017 videos made in the last several hours about this, and I would be willing to bet that half of them haven't even read the press release. So what I'm saying to you is, my thing about this is I'm all for being pissed. I'm all for boycotting Walmart. It is what it is. Do what you got to do. I'm going to do what it's what it is. But let's not be exactly what the other side thinks we are. Reactionary, conspiracy theorists, and all that. No, let's not take a headline and run with it without really knowing what's being said. And that was the whole thing.
But that's what I'm saying. If they're going to do something every 4 years, are we going to give them the benefit of the doubt after the 5th time of doing this? And
I'm not even bringing this. This has nothing to do with Walmart. I'm talking about our own people. That's my thing. I'm not even talking about.
If you get slapped and then you get slapped and then you get slapped, at some point you duck, right? And then if the guy goes, "Ha, you flinched. I wasn't going to completely slap you this time." Well, we've been slapped so many times by Walmart when they come out with this same old. I don't think it's fair. It's giving too much credit to Walmart to say we should look at this one specifically because there might be details here that are different. When we have the whole picture, Walmart's been doing this and doing this and doing this and doing this. So what's the reaction? Walmart's doing this again. Again, we can look at the specifics of it. There's always specifics of it. In the grand strokes, in the big picture, they're playing guns like they're dangerous little things that we're lucky if they sell them, and the other people are lucky if they quit selling them. Like somehow they have influence in the safety of our society. And that's all I'm saying is if we give them the benefit of the doubt and we pause and we wait, yeah, that's great. And people that are completely wise probably should take a breath before they do everything. But as a community, the year before 2020, are we going to rationally think about everything until the Second Amendment is gone and we're rationally thinking about how they took it? We got to start acting. And if it takes pushing a big giant company that's killed every small business in this country, doesn't do much except advertise? What do they really do to provide? Is there Walmart Little League teams? Is there parks made by Walmart? They're the largest company, I think. Are there Little League, are there 4-H things? Are they saying, hey, we're going to teach our kids in 4-H, something? No, Walmart doesn't do nothing that they could be doing potentially. So I'm not saying they have to. I'm just saying they're not that great a company. We don't have to petition to save them. All they did is turn a bunch of shooting ranges. You always get flack for the golf range thing. I'm going to say right here that Walmarts are a waste of a perfectly good, massive indoor shooting range, right?
That would be pretty bad. You're damn right. That'd be a great place for an indoor range.
I'll take back every little business as long as we can turn all the Walmarts into indoor shooting ranges.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
I seen a great meme earlier that talked about, why stop it just not selling if the best thing Walmart could do, if they're selling all this stuff that's making the world a bad place and all this, why don't they just take one for the team and just shut them all down? So I kind of like that. I kind of like that idea. That was interesting.
Well, my biggest thing is, like I said, I'm not trying to do anything with Walmart. It really has nothing to do with Walmart. Walmart just happens to be the company that is doing this today. My whole thing is I think that if you're going to be part of this new media and we're going to put information out there, I think that the information needs to be accurate. That's my thing.
But G's absolutely right. Walmart is a horrible company and I know you've got stories, Ghost, that you can tell about it.
Terrible.
From the way that they hire the employees to the way that they treat their employees to the salaries that they pay to the deals that they strike with distributors to manufacturers, the way they treat their truck drivers, just all the way down the line with every single aspect. It's gotten, since super centers especially have come into play over the last couple of decades or so, it's got worse and worse and worse and worse as they've grown bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And part of what frustrates me is, like, did you not see this coming? Does this surprise anybody? Really? When you've got companies that are just like G says, consistently doing horrible things, from a moral or maybe an ethical or whatever standpoint. And it just, I'm not saying that Walmart is a bastion of capitalism, because they've got a lot of black eyes, because they've used that capitalism in a lot of ways in a very immoral way, I think. But, now it's the last straw. And after they whittled and done this and done that, it's kind of like G's analogy of punching. And it's like, now all of a sudden it's the last straw. Why wasn't it the last straw when we've talked about this before? Why now?
Handguns.
Let's look at the people. Walmart put itself brilliantly in a position to where it's, for a lot of people, it's the only resource. That's it.
They didn't put themselves there. They created it by killing all the stuff. Those people weren't like, oh, we don't know what a store is. We've never been to a market. We don't.
You're telling me the low everyday price rollback. You telling me that wasn't a plan that Walmart? It didn't just happen. Walmart knew what they were doing to put mom and pop out of business.
Nah, when Sam Wall or whatever was making his thing, it depends on when you want us to suggest that. Whenever there was some sort of thing, but
I'm talking about post Walton. I'm talking about
I'm not here to talk about Walmart.
They were.
Now we're talking about, you're diverting us, Yankee. You're diverting us. You're talking about the history of Walmart and their moral point compass. I could care less. But you asked the specific question: why now? Why now? And why is this the last straw? Why wasn't it the last straw? Blah 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 blah. Well, maybe they've turned their color. They've learned their lesson on one of those prior straws. This illustrates that they didn't learn their lesson. It illustrates that they're willing to play this same back and forth garbage game that has dire consequences. The consequences are the removal of our rights. This isn't just like a lower price on Tide Pods. This is our rights that they're screwing with. And they're doing it, and I'll repeat it as many times as necessary, in the months, 3 months following up to or leading up to the 2020 election cycle, when the boomers are handing the batons to the 2000 and the Gen Ys. We can ignore that all we want. This is a pretty significant election cycle. And if we, the boomers, the older people, the people that have seen this happen over and over, aren't going to let the newer generations know that this isn't Walmart just doing something. Maybe let's try something. But this instead is a habit, is a regular occurrence. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a directive in a memo somewhere at corporate. This is how they handle this. And this is not pro-freedom or pro-individual. This is garbage. This is playing into the thing. So that's where I think this time is different. And if we're gonna stick with the why is this time different, and therefore it's not different, then we are the mouse or the frog in the warm milk getting heated, because it is no different than a degree ago, and that is no difference than a degree ago, and that is no difference than a degree ago. They're still cooked in the end.
I want to bring up some that D-Temp says, and I don't want to just completely say that it's not true or whatever. I'm going to say, he says, eventually the straw that breaks the camel's back comes along. Maybe this is it. This isn't even close to being it. Understand that, all this is going to be an inconvenience for some people, but this is also a great opportunity to start supporting your local gun shops and other means. Yes. Are you going to have to spend $10.99 instead of $9.99 for that Winchester white box 9mm? Maybe. But isn't that going to a great cause anyways, to support the second and support your local gun shop? So yes, it's going to be an inconvenience, but it's worth it, in my opinion. It's worth to start supporting different means. Reloading, I don't reload. Maybe I start getting to reloading. I don't know. There are other stores that are very pro-gun that are going to continue to sell all the guns and the ammo and all that. Go start supporting those stores. Start supporting your local gun shops more. Reload yourself. It's not like we're not going to be able to get ammo anymore. This is just a large corporation that has taken a stance. And we found out that there are many, many ways to get back at corporations that don't line up with our ideals. And a lot of that is quit spending money with them. Because obviously think.
Well, G made a valid point about what does Walmart do. They do have some programs. I'm not going to discount that, but as opposed to dollars spent in a local community, in a local city, in a local town with a mom and pop business, Walmart, as far as revenue generation, helping with those communities and businesses from that aspect of it, man, Walmart's got a lot of power, a lot of influence, a lot of lawyers, and cut a lot of deals. So they really do cut corners in that aspect. So do they make that up with what little, charitable stuff? I can't remember now if it's the Walmart Foundation or Better Communities Foundation or exactly what it's called. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, but I would suspect they're looking at that from a business standpoint, and I would suspect that they're probably spending way less on those donations than they are if they were actually paying what the mom and pop shops and stuff that they ran out of town were paying.
All right. So when Walmart consolidates all distribution of product and all distribution of things that you can buy, and then they go, oh, we're too big, we should sell to the government. Is that just 3 steps away from socialism? Then they've just given them the means of the distribution.
Good one.
That's there you go. All right. I truly did not want to spend much time on this Walmart thing because I didn't want to give it the attention that it got, but I just wanted to clear up some of the things that I've heard on different posts and all that stuff. It's just, it annoys me sometimes. But anyways, what we're really going to try to talk about tonight is what the Second Amendment really means. And maybe somehow, some way, obviously this whole Walmart thing is all tied into the Second Amendment, but we're going to talk about what we think the Second Amendment really means and what we, how we interpret it, and then what we think it means politically, globally, nationally, and all of that. With the 2020 election coming up, the Second Amendment may or may not be in the top 10 of the issues, but for a lot of us, it is a very big issue. Some people, not myself included, but a lot of people are one-issue voters, and that strictly comes down to where they stand on the Second Amendment. So if we're going to talk about the 2A community, the 2A culture, and all of that, then I thought it would be interesting to have a discussion on what the Second Amendment truly and really means to each individual, and then what we think it means for a collective group. So before we start, let's kind of just say the 27 words and, understand when this was written, understand what was going on at that time, and then try to decipher into what they meant going forward. That's what this whole discussion is going to be about, which I think is going to be really fun. But the actual 27 words are: a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. 27 words, possibly the greatest 27 words ever written on paper anywhere in the world ever, because it is something that only America can claim as a constitutional thing. Everyone has it, but the U.S., the forefathers, guaranteed our natural rights to be able to protect ourselves with the Second Amendment. But is a Second Amendment about home security, self-defense? Is it about whatever? So let's kind of talk and let's dive in. So, and a lot of people, and I'm not making fun of you, Nice Wreck, I love you, Mike. People seem to look at the shall not be infringed as the only part of the Second Amendment. That being said, let's talk about what the Second Amendment. Clover, let's just kind of have a discussion and what the Second Amendment, how you read those words and how you interpret them. I'll start with Clover. How you interpret those 27 words.
Has nothing to do with self-defense, has nothing to do with your firearm collection, has nothing to do with hunting, and has nothing to do with competition. Has everything to do with the preservation, as it said, of a free state, the preservation of liberty from that threatened liberty, not yourself. That's an inalienable right. Protecting yourself is an inalienable right. That's life. If you look at life, liberty, and the pursuit or life, liberty, and property, as some would spell it out, which is original intent, that's where that falls. So we're talking about the preservation of liberty. So preservation of liberty, we're talking about the state in there. We're talking about, we're talking about the state, that country, whatever, right? And then so it gets into the militia, made up of the people, of course. And, I mean, you can't have people that defend liberty without arms. So there you go. And then, I think if we look through history, I think one of the stark examples of this is when you get people that, and this makes me uncomfortable. And this is something that I definitely have to talk through with people. And I honestly don't even know where I come down on it completely or anything like that, because it's so outside the box. When you start talking about, what am I thinking? What is it? What's the huge super carriers? I don't even remember. And you're talking about, F-14s and F-15s and stuff like that. And you start talking about nukes and dirty bombs. And you talking about a lot of the arms, right, that are out there. But it said arms, and it says arms for a reason. And, people back in the day, they owned cannons. That was heavy duty weaponry back in the day. They owned warships. That was heavy duty stuff back in the day. So, all of that applied back then. And like I said, that's the only thing that I wrestle with. I think that, like I said, I think that everything is inalienable outside of the scope when it comes to the Second Amendment. A lot of people like to apply the Second Amendment to many things, from self-defense to competition, like I said, hunting and whatever. And all of that falls under life, liberty, and the pursuit to me. It's preservation of that liberty is what the Second Amendment does. Hey, keep your hands off of this, keep your hands out of this, because that's why this is there. And we're basically allowed the same things as the military. Now, like I said, we can start splitting hairs and having that conversation when it comes to more of those grandiose arms. That's something that I don't want to say that, I'm open to compromise or anything else, but that's certainly a conversation when you get to that level that needs to be had.
Well, let's remember also back in the 1700s when this was prevalent with the revolution, the forefathers decided they want to have a better a better country. Let's remember that the people had better weapons than the military at that point. The military were very basic weaponry. We're talking very basic. The people,
Battlefield weaponry.
yeah, some of these people had rifled barrels because they hunted. They survived with their rifles. So at the time, the people probably had better arms than the military did. Let's just keep that in mind as well.
Many did.
G, what about you? When you read the 27 words, what does the Second Amendment, how do you read that, and how does that translate into your life? How do you interpret the Second Amendment?
It's hard to read them because knowing that they were written by tyrannical elitists, and I figure it's good for museums or maybe people that are reading books, but that's about it. 27 words, that's pretty much not that many, so it really can't be all that legally.
It's not that important, is it? No. Right. And if it was that important, it would have been the First Amendment, right?
That's a good point. And the First Amendment says you're not allowed to yell in a movie theater. So it's basically...
And you can be shot for keeping your cell phones on during a movie as well. So, yeah. No, for me, and this is, we're going to talk about breaking it down and all that, but for me in general, I agree with a lot what Clover was saying. But for me, when I start getting specific about what the words actually mean, let's understand what our forefathers were going through. They left a country for a lot of reasons. One of them was religious freedom. But let's be honest, they were also looking for land. They weren't allowed to be large landowners in England unless you were knighted or you were part of the royal family. They were looking for land. And they get over here and they were upset with the British Empire and the English government, and understanding, right, that they had the right to be upset with controlling. The Church of England was run by the king. Let's be real. The king literally controlled religion in that country and in that empire. So they were looking for a lot of different things out of this new world. And when they decided to break away and they wanted to create this seemingly unheard of country in this unheard of government way of doing things, they wanted to make sure that the people had the power forever, and not a monarchy, not a dictator. They wanted the people to have the power. Now, over time, obviously, things are going to change, and we have allowed maybe our government representatives to have more power than they should, but that's on us to begin with as a people. But they wanted to make sure that we were never put in a position to be punished for speaking out against our own government. They wanted to make sure that we could express who we are and who we are as individuals anytime we want, without the fear of persecution and prosecution from our own government. That's where the First Amendment came in. They wanted to be able to practice religion in any way, shape, or form that they chose to do that without the fear of persecution and prosecution by the government. That is huge. That is ideally what they wanted to do. That being said, the Second Amendment gave the people a way to fight back against the government should they try to overstep their boundaries and to persecute their citizens for saying, expressing, or practicing religion and how they deemed fit for their lives. So we can talk about a lot of different things, but ideally, the entire purpose of the Second Amendment, in my opinion, was to protect us from our own government. Now, there are a lot of inalienable rights that come along with self-preservation, the pursuit of happiness, and all of that. Those are not rights that are guaranteed by the Second Amendment. Those are rights guaranteed by God or your creator or whatever you want to believe are natural rights. The Second Amendment allows us to protect ourselves from a government who doesn't feel the same way. Now, it might be off base, but that's what it means to me. So there's a lot of people that are going to have the discussions on it means this, that, and the other. And like I said, everyone's going to have their own interpretations of the Second Amendment. But let's kind of break down, if you will, with me, guys, the actual 27 words. And we'll start out with the first sentence: a well-regulated militia. To you guys, what does a well-regulated militia mean?
Properly equipped, of proper age and ability, basically.
Yeah, to me, militia means the people.
Right.
And a non-sanctioned force, or whatever you want to call it, it's not a military, it's the people.
Standing army.
They want the people to be organized and well-equipped. The people. That's what it means to me. And like I said, we're all going to have different things, But go ahead, Chloe. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in on you.
No, that's all I said. Yeah, I agree with you. I said it was a militia is a non-standing army of the people.
Absolutely. Necessary to secure the security of a free state. And this is where a lot of people will take it these days. They'll take it quite literal. It is not a state thing. The state means the country. Back then, that's why they have a Secretary of State. It's not a state like Arkansas or Texas or Arizona or Kentucky or whatever.
Yeah, and they say secretaries of state. They don't say secretary of states. They put the plural on secretary. Yeah,
that's correct. So, that means the country. So you're saying, so far we're saying that the people of our country should be, well armed, well trained, a citizenship of the country. That we want to be the security. The security of our own country is the people itself. Yes, we're going to have a military. We're going to have the strongest military in the world. But the citizenship, the people of this country, the forefathers thought that if the people are still strong and they're still armed and they're still organized and they have access, that's even stronger, because guess what, guys? The Revolutionary War was won by the people.
And
by the people, let's be honest.
Let me make a distinction, since we were talking about that state there and the language that they use, and you got to go back and look at how they spoke and wrote back then.
Yeah.
For them to say the country could be that, okay, unless the entire country is in some kind of a pickle, it doesn't matter. And the reason they use state is that's the lowest common denominator. Does that make sense? Because if one state, let's say, is being invaded, well, then that matters. Where all those states, in other words, all the states don't have to be being invaded. Just one can be invaded, and that triggers the clause, that triggers the militia. It's like, okay, we've got to defend this. That is a part of the whole. So they go to that, they reference that lowest common denominator, which then encompasses everything above it.
Right. G, you were going to jump in earlier. What do you want to say?
Well, states are ultimate levels of government with like a political party. So the fact that we're a nation, a republic made up of states, significant too. The Second Amendment starts with that preamble about the militia, and I'll just, since we're just preaching to the choir here and we're doing nothing else than preaching to the choir, I'll just also preach to the choir that if it meant the state, if the militia was a reference to the military or the standing army or the state's ability to call a standing army specifically, then it would be the only instance in the Constitution or the Bill of Rights that focuses on a right of the government, because every other aspect of the entire document and the Bill of Rights focuses on the individual. So the people that want to suggest that the militia indicates the military are ignoring the fact that that would be the only instance in the entire document that would be doing anything except prohibiting the government from doing something. That would be like a document that says, here's the things that the government is prohibited from doing. Blah. The first thing is speech and religion and right to assemble and press and everything. And then second is we just want to make sure that the state has the right to keep the state's military. Like that's just, it would be inconsistent with the rest of the documents.
Yep. And I want to touch on something you did say. We are preaching to the choir for the most part in this chat right now. But the idea of there might be someone out there that has never read the Constitution. They've never read the Second Amendment. They might be considered anti-gun because they don't know. And we're trying to sit there and say, look, here's what the Second Amendment is. Here's how we interpret it. Now, you might think it's about AR, assault rifles and military style rifles and this, that, and the other. And it's not. And that's what we're trying to discuss about this, and hopefully educate someone that might listen to this that might be new, and especially maybe new to America, and they want to know exactly what the Second Amendment is about. That's what it's really about, is educating people. Yeah, we might be talking to the ultimate echo chamber here in the actual live audience, but let's hope that someone down the line sees a title and says what the Second Amendment really means. Maybe they'll click on that and learn something.
It also gives people out there that maybe, I don't know, maybe they understand it, maybe they've read it, but they haven't really thought about it one way or another. So, I mean, that's a good thing. And then it also gives people the opportunity. It gives them different ideas and vision. Because I think a lot of people see the Second Amendment a lot of different ways that are none of them are inaccurate. It's just kind of looking at it from a different perspective. And so, when you're entering into especially a conversation with somebody that maybe is not so well educated on things like that, then that could also give you the opportunity to think back and go, now, how did Ghost, explain this? Or how did G-Webs explain this? Maybe this person will understand it better that way.
Yeah. And that's what again, it's all about the discussion and hopefully educating someone that, it very well could help somebody out. Like I said, 99% of the people that are listening to this live and all that, we all have our own, we all know basically what the Second Amendment is because we're big Second Amendment supporters. But that doesn't mean that everyone is listening is a Second Amendment supporter. They might have grown up in a place or in a family that was anti-gun, so they might be anti-gun, but now they're starting to grow up a little bit and wonder, what is this Second Amendment thing? Why is everybody so uptight and upset about the Second Amendment thing going on right now? I really need to go find out. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. So we've talked about the well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, this right here, you take it maybe to two sections. You can take it line by line, but the preamble of the first section and the second section, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is where our community and our culture has different views of what that means, and we interpret it different ways, even within our own community. To me, what that means is that the government can not come and tell us that we cannot bring up arms against our own tyrannical government.
I think we need to dissect that into two parts.
Go for it.
I think you're biting off more than we need to bite off, because I think there's there's actually more than two different things, in my opinion. The right of the people. There's the right of the people. We have to dissect that. To keep and bear, I think we have to dissect that. Arms, I think we have to dissect that, and then we can deal with shall not be infringed. So the right of the people. Okay, what that's doing is that's acknowledging that the right exists. It's inalienable. Like I said before, the right to have these things for your personal protection, for your life, which would be hunting back then to provide food, right? For the pursuit of what? Property, the pursuit of happiness, if you will. What makes you happy? Competition, what makes you happy? Just collecting them, whatever. It's a possession. Big deal. It's property, right? So right. The right of the people.
You don't even have to be involved. You can just appreciate that other people have them for you or have them. And
exactly. But the point to that I'm trying to make is that's important to realize that amendment is not giving a right. It's recognizing that right exists right there. Okay. To keep and bear. What's that mean? That means to have and utilize, correct? Let's plug synonyms in. To have these things and utilize these things. The next word, arms. What is arms? Well, if you're going back to original language, original intent, that's basically anything that any military has ever used, ever, or continues to use. It's the same way as we talk the arms race and everything else nowadays. It's anything. It's any weapon that can be used in a war, from a bow and arrow to a tomahawk to a minigun to an F-14 to a AR-15 to whatever it might be. And then shall not be infringed. That one's easy. That means, hey, you can't touch this. Leave it alone.
You can't take this away from us. That's right.
It's MC Hammer. You can't touch this.
You can't touch it. Now, are you gonna start dancing for us like that?
Yeah.
MC Hammer?
Yeah, sure.
No, and you're right. I mean, and we're talking about, I mean, you can dissect, if we wanted to, we could dissect every single word or every couple words in this whole thing. The whole point of the Second Amendment is, remember, we have to understand the climate of the situation back in the 1700s. They came over here for religious freedom, to own land, a lot of different reasons. And they decided that enough is enough. We're going to take this into our own hands, and we want to create a system that's about the people. Forget the monarchs, forget the dictators, forget the empires. We're going to set up a system of checks and balances controlled by the people. Now, once again, what we have evolved into 200 plus years later is on us. We have allowed our leaders to a certain extent to overstep their boundaries, to become more powerful than what the Constitution initially laid out to them. But that's on us. But when you talk about the Bill of Rights and you talk about these amendments, you have to understand that the wordage that was used back then, a lot of people are going to sit there and say, well, the forefathers never anticipated having M16s and M60s and 50 cals and AR-15s and all that. No, I think they did. I think they were smart enough to understand that firearms and weapons in general evolve over time. You know, go ahead.
War was hell then, war is hell now, and they use the word arms. That's all you need to know.
That's right. But understanding the fact that what our I mean, you have to understand also, people forget the men, and I say that word because I know there's ladies out there, but the men who wrote this were young. The life expectancy was about 40 years old back then. So you're talking the elder statesmen were, Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin, but you had some of these guys that are 20, 21, 22, 23 years old that were writing the most important document maybe ever written in the world, and to create a system of checks and balances and of freedom and protection of liberty. These people were well above their age as far as their minds. They were extremely smart. They had the ability, maybe not exactly, but they had the ability to look 200, 300 years down the road and say, we understand. We can look to 300 years ago and see what weapons were back then, what government meant back then to what it is now. So they're smart enough to look 300 years down the road and say, well, there's going to be some crazy shit that happens 300 years from now, but we want to make sure that we put in stone, not on paper that could be ripped up and shredded. No, technically it was paper, but you see the irony that I'm trying to say here is, but they want to make sure that the people had the power. And like I said, the First Amendment is
the first was to call the injustices against
that's
liberty.
Correct.
The second one was to act on the injustices against
correct. And protect us from injustices from our own government. And that's the greatest thing that we talk about all the time. We talk about, you see what happens with countries when they disarm the populace. That's not a lie. That's true. History will prove to you over and over and over and over again what happens when a government disarms a populace. Tragedy is what happens. So the fact that America and the forefathers put in place a system that says if your government ever tries to speak out and go against the people, we're going to make sure that you have available equipment to say, not us, not here. Are we still behind the curve because we have an NFA and we're not allowed to have certain things? Absolutely. But I want to kind of, and I hate to say that, I know this is probably going to piss G off, but I want to kind of remind people that as bad as we might think that we have it, or you might have a bad day, there's things going on in your life. God knows I got a shit going on in my life, but everyone's got bad shit happening in their lives. I want you to understand that it could be a lot worse. Our lives here in America are pretty damn good. You want to find out what true injustice is, go overseas to these countries that are run by tyrannical governments and dictators and monarchs and militaristic governments.
Overseas,
what real life is bad. What's that?
I said overseas, just go south of the border.
Just go south of the border and find out what bad shit really is, and then understand that we've got it pretty good here. And the reason that we have it pretty good here is because we had people 250 years ago that were able to come up and think past then and think what could be and set up a foundation to the greatest country and the greatest, way of life. We can argue governments and all that, but the greatest way of life the world has ever known. And for us to sit there and say that because Walmart's doing this or that, let's be real, guys, it's an inconvenience, but our world is pretty good. Our life is pretty good. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't give up and no, we're going to fight to the death to make sure that our rights are not infringed upon. But I think that it's also very important to bring back to reality the fact that if guys almost 300 years ago can figure out what's going to happen, and it's really hasn't changed aside from some things being regulated or whatever, the Second Amendment is very, 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 very strong still in this country. We are still the biggest country in the world with the most guns. And we were talking about crime rates and death rates and murder rates and all that. It's a very, very, very small. Now, number wise, yeah, but we also have more people, more guns. But our rates, our murder rates and all of that are so small in comparison to a lot of countries. So I question the reasoning for people. I don't question it. I know why they're doing it, but I want to make sure that people understand why when they put out false facts and they come at the gun community and they don't truly understand the Second Amendment. All they see is mass murders. The Second Amendment is not about mass murders. The Second Amendment is making sure the government cannot infringe upon our liberties. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, we're like 3% of the population of the world, and we hold like 45% of the firearms.
Yeah, or something like that. It's crazy. Yeah.
Wants this all the time that if there was a problem, we would know there was a problem. But even though we're 3% of the population and we have 45% of the arms, I mean, look at the just downright atrocities that happen worldwide with people by the tens, if not hundreds of, if not, thousands, if not millions, that go on. So, yeah, I mean, I agree. Despite the small percentage of the population, the large percentage of firearm ownership, life's pretty good. We're a pretty peaceful country.
Yeah.
I went out today and I never felt threatened, not one single bit. And that's a good thing.
Yeah. Not one time did I feel threatened either. I want to kind of start closing up the shop and start talking about closing things. Do you guys, either one of you guys, have anything that you guys want to bring up on your interpretation or what we've been talking about the Second Amendment and all that? If not, then I ask you guys if you want to plug what you guys are projects you're working on. That I'll start with G. Do you have anything you want to close on the Second Amendment or anything else?
Thanks for the invite. No, I'm just been kind of jumping back and forth here, so appreciate it.
I hear you. Tell people where they can find you, man. And I know you got a bunch of projects going on right now. You have anything you want to promote?
Freedom and individual liberty.
Well, hell, that's a mic drop right there. Chloe, what about you?
I do want to point out one thing before I get into all the whatever self-promotion crap. And that's you were talking about reasons for the split from England, reasons for the revolution and stuff like that. And I don't know, there's always been, and I don't know, there probably always will be a racial undertone to just darn near everything, as it deals with our country and society and everything else. But realize that England did not abolish slavery until 1833. What does that mean? Well, we know that if you were given a slave, you couldn't turn it down. You couldn't just set them free. You couldn't just. So there were abolitionists within the revolutionary movement. Don't get me wrong. There was some people that agreed with it and everything else. I'm not making excuses for those, but I'm saying there were rather, if I can get my words right, there were people that were working from the get-go, to end that horrible practice. And they knew that until we could get away from England, that was the first step in getting it done, is that we had to get away from England, because as long as we were under their thumb, they weren't going to allow it. Yeah. As far as my stuff, I was happy to see in the Instagram chat last night quite a few people talking about how they were going to make gun rights policy conference. So some people that I don't know personally, have never met, that sort of thing. So it's great to see people out there starting to get involved. So do more. I was a little bit disappointed at the amount of posts and different things I've seen for Every Second Matters. So get out there and every day be if you can't be an activist, I get you, but at least be a part-time activist and try to help normalize firearm ownership in an effort to help secure the Second Amendment.
Absolutely. And, I want to say that if you guys missed out last Friday, Clover had a gun rights policy conference, kind of a telethon. And
so that was pretty epic.
4 hours. It's pretty epic, man. And you had some really awesome people, friends of ours, and they'd come on and for over 4 hours, it was different people jumping in and out. But if you haven't had a chance to listen to that, please do, because there were some great discussions, and there were some awesome individuals that came into that. And former NRA board members. You had Cheryl Todd, Tony Simon, John was there. I mean, obviously G was there, but Yankee. You had a whole bunch of people over 4 hours that come from different backgrounds, different projects, but they all can come in and solidify on the Second Amendment, which is a beautiful thing. We're all going to have different projects. We're all going to have different priorities in our lives, but most of us within this community can all agree that regardless of how we interpret the Second Amendment, regardless of how we interpret what companies do, we can all agree that the Second Amendment means something dear to our hearts. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for in the live chat for getting out there. I had some great conversations going out there. Make sure that you go buy your toothpaste somewhere else if you want to do that. Deodorant, all of that stuff. Please go support your local gun shops. This is an opportunity to get back to buying ammo and other things at local gun shops. So you can look at things being a negative, dark thing, but I like to make silver out of shit. And I'm going to sit there and say, let's take this opportunity to go start supporting your local gun shops even more. So thank you so much for watching live, listening live. If you're watching in replay, once again, we hope you liked it. If you have any questions or comments, use the comment section below, and we will see you guys again next week for the Armed Citizen Podcast Live. Semper Fi.